How nice it is to have to deal with something positive. In a nutshell, for me it's that I get to live the fullest and most multi-dimensionally meaningful life I can imagine, using my intellect, my emotions, my body, my spirit, and feeling the spiritual, intellectual, emotional, and material dimensions of everyone I know, every place I go, everything I hear, see, smell, taste and touch. It is constantly exciting and overwhelming. Note, for this question, I will focus on positive experiences. But this does not mean there are no sad, depressing, frightening, and painful events, but I experience those to the fullest as well. It is a matter of being fully present, engaged, involved, in everything, with all that I've got. Without Judaism, everything would be more shallow and superficial, not one-dimensional but missing important dimensions of life. I thank my parents and teachers, my wife and children, my friends and colleagues and students, who have all taught me to live as fully aware as I can of everything I experience, think, do, say and feel. My Judaism provides the content of a constant multi-level awareness. My wife says it's called mindfulness today, of the significances of the things I do throughout the day. When I eat, say, I enjoy the color, the taste, the smell, the texture, at the same time as I appreciate the pleasure of eating and the utilitarian benefit of quieting my hunger and my irritability, and nourishing my body, and I feel both how dependent I am on God, among others, keep reading, and how grateful I am to Him for all that has gone into creating this experience. Inter alia, I get this from the blessings I recite before eating and after eating. For example, the Tur teaches that the phrase, Lachiot behem nefesh kol chai, in one of our after-eating blessings, doesn't mean only to keep all living things alive with them the food we need, but rather, to give them vitality and pleasure and excitement with them. Moreover, I was a farmer for many years, raising various vegetables, flowers and flower bulbs, chickens and eggs, etc. I enjoyed immensely the work itself, the feel of the ground under my feet and the sky over my head, and the learning of how to do new things, and the challenge of solving various problems that came up, and the doing together with my wife and children and friends and neighbors, and the constant awareness that I was not only contributing to the support of my immediate family, but I was also producing good, healthy, wholesome, tasty, and kosher food, and sweet-smelling, beautiful flowers for Shabbat, for others, and contributing directly and indirectly to the continuing development and establishment of our Jewish people in our homeland, which I was privileged to work, thus being part of the fulfillment of dreams and prophecies thousands of years old. And more. In any event, having been a farmer, when I eat I also think of all the effort that went into producing that food, transporting it. I also drove a truck for several years. Sometimes my mind wanders off to thinking about the metal and automotive industries, and oil, and cardboard packaging, and workers at every step along the chain, marketing and delivering, my Jewish, halakhically married to me, wife's work in preparing it, all that went into preparing the utensils used for preparing and serving the food, etc. It is the most wonderful way to eat. You don't lose one iota of the sensual experience and pleasure, but it all takes on a depth of awareness and appreciation of people made in God's image, of God and the planet on which He placed us, to work and to protect it. Genesis chapter 2 verse 15. I hope that one example gives you the idea. I cannot elaborate on the fullness of every day, of which eating is only a small part. I have had the good fortune to be able to experience Jewishly meaningfully a great variety of personal, material, social, family, communal, intellectual, cultural, spiritual, religious, etc. activities all intertwined and hyperlinked to my Jewishness, to rabbinic literature, to Jewish practice, attitudes, and belief. Torah study, application of Torah directly to my own life and to the lives of those who ask me questions and or come to study with me, and music and painting and gardening and family life, and meeting people on Quora, discussing issues with my rabbinic and other professional colleagues. One internet forum that a friend and I established now has some 500 Israeli rabbi members, and on and on. I cannot imagine a richer life than one lived as a contemporary religious Zionist Jew in Israel. I am forever grateful. I oftentimes hated being religious, but sometimes I loved it all the same. Believing in religious Judaism gives you a place to be in this crazy mixed-up universe. It gives you a sense of belonging, to a synagogue, a creed, a proud and storied tradition, not to mention a brotherhood and sisterhood of fellow believers. It gives you a mission in life, as well as a loving community. It's like a light, something to guide you through the dark times, through the uncertainty, through the hardship and the pain and the aimlessness. I look at old pictures of when I was religious and I know that there were some genuinely happy and devout moments. I'm very grateful for the high level of spirituality and deep values that Judaism grew in me. But that was it. I don't see it as the ultimate unquestionable truth anymore. I don't see evidence that the Torah is divine and see no reason to base my life around its word. But that doesn't stop me from loving the culture and stories it left behind, and that's what I love about Judaism most. I have a history, a culture, and a language, and despite agnosticism, I'm free to practice it. Judaism is me, an indelible part of my being. I could disown my Orthodox family and walk away and claim that I am not a Jew, but every time I would open my mouth to speak you would hear Jewish values and customs echoed, and love for our timeless rituals and tradition. Over 20 years ago I read this description of the Sabbath, Shabbat, from Mordecai Kaplan. An artist cannot be continually wielding his brush. He must stop at times in his painting to freshen his vision of the object, the meaning of which he wishes to express on his canvas. Living is also an art. We dare not become absorbed in its technical processes and lose our consciousness of its general plan. The Sabbath represents those moments when we pause in our brushwork to renew our vision of this object. Having done so, we take ourselves to our painting with clarified vision and renewed energy. This description really called out to me. Shabbat at that moment ceased to be a burden, and suddenly became something that could actually make my life better. And I wanted to experience what it was like to separate from the world I knew one day each week. So I decided to give it a try. Spoiler, it's over 20 years later and I'm still Sabbath observant. 1. I had many fears. At the time, I was a very serious college student with great grades. I was worried that suddenly I'd be competing with all these other students, but with one fewer day each week to study and do my schoolwork. And I was shocked to see that not only did my grades not suffer, they appeared to actually be improving. Or at the least, they were not getting lower at all, whereas my stress levels were reducing and my ease at which I could maintain my academic standards had increased. I worked less and achieved more. Somehow or other Sabbath observance was improving my life. At the time, I couldn't explain why exactly, but I was certainly enjoying the fruits of my lack of labor.